Order, please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Certainly. Supervisor Moore,
Present.
Councilwoman McNamara. Present. Councilman Iacili.
Present.
Councilman Pell.
Here.
Councilman Martell.
Present.
Thank you. I move to approve the minutes of the regular town board meeting of March 25th, 2025.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
The following communications have been received in the office of the town clerk. We have received public notices from the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation regarding the reclassification of the Superfund site at the Suffolk Airport Canine Kennel on Old Riverhead Road in West Hampton Beach. New York State Department of Public Service, National Grid's final long-term gas plan meetings, April 10th, April 16th, and April 17th at 1 and 6 p.m. Village of North Haven, public hearing notices, notice of adoption, Village of West Hampton Beach, zoning board of appeals applications for 121 Seafield Point, West Hampton Beach, 1 and 139 Point Road. New York State Liquor Authority 30-day advance notice to local municipality, a new application for 281 County Road 39A, Southampton. Emails, letters, and land use applications have been received regarding the following. CPF acquisition of 112 Mill Pond Road Watermill. Planning board matter of proposed cannabis dispensary, 93 East Montauk Highway, Hampton Bays. Poxabog Field, Sagaponack. North Sea Road conditions, safe bike plans, Southern Pine Beetle Management and Fire Prevention, Westwoods Gas Station Rest Area, Hampton Bays. Zoning Board of Appeals applications have been received regarding Sam's Creek Road, Bridgehampton, Cold Spring Point Road, Tuckahoe, and Flying Point Road, Watermill. Bid and request for proposals were received on Wednesday, April 2nd. For bid for activity vehicles, Parks and Recreation, bid for requirements, contract pavement repair highway, bid for requirements, contract for full depth reclamation, bid for printing and mailing of Hampton Bays Water District bills, and bid for Yacht Club Drive bulkhead replacement. Following reports were filed, one from the Town Comptroller for the March 2025 monthly financial reports. And that concludes the communications for this meeting's agenda.
Thank you.
Thank you. I have 8 walk-ons that I'd like to move to add to the agenda. The first is Town Board Resolution ID number 49284, Resolution of Adoption amending Town Code Section 330-248U, Fairfield Southampton Residential Plan Development District to allow driveway gates and owner rental. Town Board Resolution ID number 49533 to award and authorize the supervisor to sign a contract with Rosemar Contracting, Inc. for requirements contract for pavement repair. The third is Town Board Resolution ID number 49534 to award and authorize the supervisor to sign a contract with Rosemar Contracting, Inc. for requirement contract for full depth reclamation. The fourth is Town Board Resolution ID number 49541 to award and authorize the supervisor to sign a contract with Maximum Motorsports LLC for activity vehicles. The fifth is Town Board Resolution ID number 49544, the 2025 second notice to bidders for activity vehicles. The sixth is Town Board Resolution ID number 49547, which is the warrant number 7. The seventh is Town Board Resolution ID number 49549, a notice of public hearing to amend Chapter 330, Section 183.1A9 to clarify the requirements of administrative approval of municipal projects and enacting a new standard, 330-183-1A11, to allow for approval of any plans so ordered by a court stipulation of settlement. And the eighth and final is Town Board Resolution ID number 49557 to authorize the supervisor to sign a contract with Nelson and Pope for professional services related to the installation of a glass recycling system at the North Sea Transfer Station. I move to add those to the agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, Madam Clerk, would you please read the notice for the first public hearing?
Public hearing number 1, to consider amending Town Code, Chapter 50, Open Government, to discontinue video conferencing at public meetings.
You ready? Okay, sorry. Thank you, Madam Supervisor. Good afternoon, members of the Town Board. By local law number 14 of 2022, adopted on May 24th, 2022, and as part of its response to the COVID-19 pandemic, the Town Board authorized the use of video conferencing to conduct the business of the town. This included, but was not limited to, meetings of the Town Board, as well as its local land use boards, such as the Zoning Board of Appeals, the Planning Board, the Conservation Board, the Architectural Review Board, and the Landmarks and Historic Districts Board. That decision to allow video conferencing was within this town board's discretion and pursuant to Public Officers Law, Section 103-A. 3 years later, however, and upon further review, the town board recognizes that while video conferencing certainly brings advantages, there are some disadvantages, including limiting the town's ability to conduct public meetings off-site at locations other than town hall and within engaged communities and hamlets. It increases the likelihood of technical difficulties and sometimes delays meetings, and can increase the potential for distractions. Thus, the purpose of this public hearing and the proposed local law is to consider exercising that same discretion vested by Public Officers Law with this town board and discontinue video conferencing, the video conferencing aspect of public meetings going forward. Notably, meetings will still be live streamed in the event the town board was inclined to adopt this. The town clerk's meeting portal continues to live stream meetings for viewers to watch in real time, but it does remove the ability for viewers to zoom in and participate from home or somewhere other than town hall during these meetings. Does the board have any questions?
No, I mean, thank you for clarifying that we're still be live streaming and, video recording.
Yes.
And, does anybody have any questions?
What do we do in incidents like if the elevator goes out and the ADA compliancy isn't here and so on and so forth? I mean, the availability to get people here at all times is not as easy as we think sometimes. So how would we react to something in town hall that was beyond our control?
That's a good question. I mean, certainly policy considerations that we can take in if the board's so inclined to not do Zoom anymore. We can work on other avenues for public access on the first floor. I don't have a good answer for you right now, Councilman, but yeah, that's something that the board can talk about if that's an issue.
I think I do recall we did that one time.
We did, yeah.
We had the meeting on the first floor because the elevators were out, but that's a good question.
Yeah,
Or we could do a special legislation for that board meeting coming up if you have time.
sure.
You know.
Yep.
Is there any requirement in general to make special accommodations?
Well, sure. I mean, yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're a public building, this town hall facility should be ADA compliant. We work hard to make sure that we are, hence the ramp in the front of the building right now and the elevator. So yes, I mean, it is our obligation to make sure that people of all abilities can access the meeting room. Yes.
Mm-hmm. All right, well, I don't have any cards for this public hearing. Kevin, is there anyone on Zoom who would like to be heard?
Yeah, I have two hands up.
Okay, thank you, Kathleen.
Hello, my name is Pamela Harwood, representing the Bridgehampton Civic Association. Now that this technology is in place, the downsides that are described do not seem to outweigh the advantages of Zoom video conferencing during public hearings. The town board members know that many town homeowners are full-time taxpayers but part-time residents, and even the full-time residents take extended vacations during the winter. The town even justifies many of its planning and development policies and decisions by saying that large homes and condo developments are acceptable because residents will be part-time and not add to the burden on school and other systems. But disenfranchising those taxpayers by eliminating their ability to participate in public hearings when this technology is in place is what I would call taxation without representation. Thank you for your consideration. And by the way, I also have to say that how many town board meetings and public hearings take place outside of town hall? I think that's really got to be very few. So that's it. Thanks very much.
Bringing the next person in.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. I appreciate the time. I do agree with the Hampton Bays Civic. That's who just spoke. My name is Lorraine Pacelio. I'm from the Bayview Pines area, and I believe that transparency and accessibility are critical even more now than ever before. It's very important for our communities to be able to stay engaged with our government, and Zoom definitely enhances the participation. Sometimes it is a little hard to work through the kinks, but this technology is not going away, and it does help all us taxpayers, participate. And that's why I chose to participate this way. Sometimes if I have to go to a meeting to participate, I have to wait 2 or 3 hours. I have to travel all the way into Southampton. It's just a very big burden that would be on us. And if you can't videotape at every meeting, then you can't videotape, you can't have Zoom at every meeting, then so be it. But to eliminate it totally, I think would be disadvantageous for the board not being able to receive everyone's opinions when they need them, as well as for us taxpayers who need to be heard when the time is allowed. So I do believe that transparency and accessibility are important, and especially for those that have a hard time taking off of work, or have inability or resources to travel in order to share their viewpoints. And I would hope that you take my comments into consideration. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We have 2 more people.
Okay.
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Hi, Rachel Verno. I'm speaking as an individual today, but our CAC, some of our members of our CAC did submit a letter that I hope you all received. Congratulations, Councilmember Martell. Nice to see you, and nice to see everybody else today. Thank you for the opportunity to speak this afternoon, and thanks to Zoom, despite my being 3,000 miles away on business, I'm still able to participate at this meeting. As someone who doesn't always have the ability to attend these meetings in person, I'm obviously disappointed that the board is proposing to end video conferencing. And while I appreciate that I could submit a letter with my comments like some of our CAC members did, and I'm confident all of you would take the time to read it, I also know that not every member on every board has the ability to read every letter before a public meeting. And in the case of the land use boards, If you do have the opportunity to speak either in person or on Zoom, your questions and concerns will most likely be addressed by the town planners and applicants in real time. I also appreciate that there are technical glitches connected to Zoom, and the town doesn't currently have the technology to offer Zoom at off-site meetings. But it's 2025, and I'm confident that the town of Southampton has both the financial and technical resources to figure this out. Not everyone has the ability to attend a meeting in person. Whether you're someone like me working out of town, or if you're on a holiday, or you only live in Southampton part-time, or you skip town in the winter, or you rent your house out in the summer, or you don't feel comfortable driving at night, or you can't get a babysitter to watch your kids, or you just don't want to spend 3 hours at town hall waiting for your turn at the podium, you should always have the option to use Zoom, especially since the technology exists. Long before the general public had access to Zoom, I'm assuming paid consultants always had the opportunity to use video conferencing. I'm assuming that practice will continue, so I'm not sure why the technical glitches referred to in the resolution only apply to the public's use of Zoom. This resolution also states that video conferencing leads to distractions and something called Zoom fatigue. Distractions have always existed at town hall meetings long before Zoom was ever in the mix. Someone forgets to silence their phone, people kill time texting and answering their emails, and there's always at least one person in the back row having a conversation. None of that is specific to video conferencing. With regard to Zoom fatigue, which is just another word for being burnt out from back-to-back Zoom meetings, are you referring to yourselves? Because I think the public is capable of making their own decisions with regards to the way in which they want to participate. The board seems to be moving on a fast track towards ending Zoom on May 1st. Personally, I think that's a mistake. The reason the use of Zoom was extended was because we all saw the potential for people who couldn't necessarily attend a meeting in person to still be able to participate in the process. I've always considered that a main goal of government is to encourage people to get involved. The idea is to be inclusive and make participation and interest in our community as far-reaching and as accessible as possible. It's the reason our CAC continues to have hybrid meetings, which some of you on the board have actually participated in. To eliminate what is now a standard form of bringing people together would be discriminatory towards those who want to participate but may not have the ability to do so in person. I don't know why the board would want to limit public participation. I hope the board will consider my comments and vote against this resolution. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Bringing the last person in.
Hi, can you hear me?
Hi, yes, we can.
Hi, so I'm Meredith Berkowitz. I'm also a member and the secretary of the Bridgehampton Civic Association, but I am here speaking individually. I came on today to mainly listen to what the articulated reasons were going to be for eliminating the Zoom participation. And frankly, I felt like what I heard was not really a discussion of significant disadvantages that would outweigh the benefits that Zoom provides for participation by the public and input by the public. Off-site meetings, I feel like these are very rare instances and could possibly be accommodated in some other way. And I wonder when you have off-site meetings whether that's really meaningful participation by people attending in person anyway. Live streaming and video content doesn't allow for live input. Sure, there's the ability to submit comment letters after the fact, but it doesn't allow for that interaction that sometimes happens not just at the town board meetings, but at planning board meetings, at zoning board meetings, where the ability to go back and forth and ask questions is sometimes really helpful. Also, I think it's very important that the public be able to have a voice and that we continue to encourage civic engagement, which and video conferencing like Zoom enhances participation. Some people are working during the day. Town board meetings can be during the day. They can be in the evening. It may not fit everyone's schedule. And what it does by not continuing that participation, it dampens the ability of the public to provide input. And isn't greater participation and input better for informed decision-making rather than reducing it? Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Does anyone else have any other comments?
I actually do. So I did have Paula Godfrey in my office. She went through and I asked her to pull data from the last year of meetings that we've held and how many people have participated via Zoom. And it's less than 10% of the people that come in. We actually have 378 people that came to town hall and spoke at public hearings. We have had instances where we've held public hearings and I've gotten, I know all of you have as well, text messages during a meeting, people commenting saying, I'm on Zoom, I can't find the link, I can't get on. And we tell them, sorry, you can submit a letter. Sometimes we've closed the public hearing and they lose that opportunity. Sometimes, they really wanted to be heard and, to speak and they don't get that opportunity. And I always tell people, if it's very important for you to be heard, please make the effort to come to town hall to make sure your voice is heard. Some things that weren't mentioned in the legislation, and I think some people have a misunderstanding of, is, as you said, that the meetings will continue to be live streams if we adopt this legislation. People can always watch them in real time on the clerk's portal. But what we will have is, have you seen, even with 3 people on or 4 people on Zoom, it takes time to bring people onto Zoom and to get people off of Zoom. And sometimes we have 50, 60 people. We had a couple in here with a baby waiting for people on Zoom, not knowing how many people were going to even show up on Zoom. At least when you walk into a room, you can say, okay, there's 5 public hearings, there's 20 people here. The chances that I can get to my next kid's meeting or whatever are pretty good. But if you come into a meeting and there's 20 people there and there's 50 people on Zoom, which has never happened, but just say there was, you now took the time to be here in person and you're waiting on people that are in their bed, in their living room, driving in their car, getting to the next thing. And it's not fair, as I see it, to the people that take the time to come here to be heard in person. Another misconception is the fact that why don't you just change the law, don't get rid of Zoom, but at least have some of your meetings in Zoom. Unfortunately, the way that the state law was designed, we don't have that ability. We've asked about that. We've said, if we have off-site meetings, must we have Zoom? Yes, you must have Zoom. And it's not just flipping open a laptop and having a hybrid meeting. That all has to be, recorded and documented in real time for the archival purposes that the clerk is painstakingly trying to, keep records of. We have, East Quogue is currently looking at creating a parks district. They're going to have public hearings. Now, do we make East Quogue residents that are having public hearings on a park district come to town hall for those meetings? Or do we go to that community and hold those public hearings there so that more of them can be heard, since it's only them that will be taxed on that? These are things that we have to weigh, and do the risks outweigh the benefits if less than 10% of people are using it, but it's hindering our ability to be efficient, to get through processes, to have more community involvement in the communities where people live. We've had, one of the speakers has asked us to have meetings in Flanders. We can't do that without Zoom capabilities. We've been asked to have water district meetings in Hampton Bays for well over a year now. We've finally gotten Zoom capabilities in Hampton Bays. Unfortunately, I was there yesterday. It's a small room that we were able to set up the Zoom in a way that we can record, which means more than likely, if we get a lot of Hampton Bays residents that want to come to that water district meeting, some of them will be sitting outside of that room in the senior center watching the meeting on a TV. So there's a lot more to this than just taking something away. It's not something that I think any of us want to do. But we are locked into a process by which the state has given us no flexibility. It's either use it for everything or don't use it all. And that's what we've been handed. And I will just make mention of the fact that I believe it was last week, it was in the press, that Sag Harbor Village, their meeting, there was somebody on Zoom and there was pornographic images alongside racial and anti-Semitic things. These are all things that are potential when you open up your meetings to, you don't know when he says, I'm bringing someone on, who that someone is or what will be on their screen when they share it. So these are all things that I think we need to really weigh. It's not simply about, do we want to be, more transparent and have more input? Of course we do. But to me, I have seen more people that have lost their opportunity to speak because for whatever technical reason, they couldn't get on, or when they got on, they couldn't get their mic to work. So for me, I mean, I was comfortable bringing this forward to at least have this public hearing. And, you know, like we said, if there was a plethora of people that came out, and, you know, we have to weigh all of those things, so.
I think we should, well, we can either hold it over or close the meeting, but leave a comment period.
I would close it, leave comments for 2 weeks.
Anybody have any?
I'm sorry, just,
Close it and leave a comment for 2 weeks.
Okay.
Please. That's what we want?
We'll give people a little more time to weigh in. Okay, so I move to do that.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, would you please read the notice for the next public hearing?
Public hearing number 2, to consider historic landmark designation of the structure recognized as the Diamond Dairy Barn and Studio located at 18 Flying Point Road, Watermill.
Hi, good afternoon, Supervisor Moore and Town Council. I'm Victoria Khan. I'm a member of the Landmarks Board, and we have a nice little graphic here of the property in question. This is 18 Flying Point Road, and it is a 1.8 acre property, and it is adjacent to 12 Flying Point. You may recall back in 2023, went through a major landmarking and a subdivision so that the Diamond family farmhouse could be relocated from approximately this location to its new location, because it used to be right across from the barn we're going to talk about in a few minutes, which is right here. And with me today actually are Troy Buckner. Troy is the owner and applicant, and Troy has asked us to help him in the landmarking process. And also he would like to go through a subdivision. The subdivision obviously is a subject of another hearing completely. We're just going to talk about the landmarking. And also Susan Sherry Clark, who did the historical research for the report that I hope you have received. So I just wanted to mention a few things. The barn has been long associated with the Diamond family. In fact, the Diamond family has been very active in this area since the early 1800s. Today, it's best known for its cultural contributions and its association with noted artists of national and... Okay, somebody's tweeting around. Okay, that's good. That's good. They know it too. The barn itself, the Diamond Dairy Barn, was actually built in 1915, and it was built by a prominent local whose name was C. Elmer Smith, and it was built to house 35 cows. C. Elmer Smith also built Southampton Hospital, and he served as Southampton Village Mayor from 1913 to 1918 when he passed away. The dairy operations were marketed as the Clover Farm Dairy, and were later sold by his son, C. Edwin Smith, to Edwin Schwenk in 1925 after government regulations made dairy farming just too expensive. And so he continued to sell milk, but they went into potato farming. Now, the property, in 1985, the Diamonds subdivided the property. At that point, it was like 98, 100 acres of property, and they sold the barn. So this was the transition into a new and I think very exciting period of the property's history. It transitioned from agricultural use to an artistic and cultural hub. Lynn Hefner Ferrante was a professional artist and a sculptor who bought the barn. She renovated it, and she used it as her home and studio. And she even memorialized her love of the Diamond Barn in her autobiography. She owned an art gallery in West Hampton Beach, and she was president of the Southampton Artists Association. She now lives in East Hampton, and she was kind enough to share her blueprints for the Diamond Barn with us, although she acknowledged that very few of the renovations actually took place. She did a very little bit of work. But she did confirm that the windows on the ground floor of the Diamond Barn were repurposed from the West Hampton Free Library. That was something we've been investigating, as you may recall, for quite some time. In 1996, Ms. Ferrante sold the property to a photographer, Ronald Buckner. He's a member of the East End Photographers Group. That's another not-for-profit, still very active. And then in 2004, Buckner and his wife sold the property to noted artist and sculptor Hal Buckner and his partner, Dorothy Lichtenstein. Dorothy was the widow of artist Roy Lichtenstein, and she's best known locally for the Art Reach Fund that she established at the Parish Museum and the Lichtenstein Fund for entrepreneurial programs at Stony Brook University. And then, of course, she's been was very active as a benefactor to universities and museums around the world. Both Hal Buckner and Dorothy Lichtenstein passed away in 2024. Hal was a professor and a professional artist. He exhibited locally and nationally, most recently here at Southampton Arts Center. In 2022, some of his sculptures were displayed on the property in front of the barn, and photos of Dorothy in the studio, some of Hal's sculptures, as well as the interiors of the workshop are actually in the report. It's my opinion that Hal and Dorothy sort of cemented the status of the property as a working studio for local artists, hosting numerous events for established artists and up-and-coming artists. And the barn is used today as a studio by artist Oscar Molina, whose sculptures are just on display. You can see them right now on the grounds. And Oscar has a gallery in Southampton Village, and he exhibits nationally and internationally. I'm here for any questions you may have, any comments?
We actually had an extensive work session on both of these properties with Ed and Julie Green, and
Yeah.
Excellent.
so we asked a lot of questions then.
Okay.
Susan, did you have anything you wanted to tell us?
No, I just fully have supported. I've worked
Oh,
on.
come on up. Thank you, Vicki.
Thank you. I've been on the Landmarks Board for about 15 years and covered the Watermill area. And I was aware the barn was there, but I didn't know all of the history until I started researching it for the Diamond Farmhouse. And the cultural aspects, and I think if Troy's going to speak, he could speak more to that because, of course, it's his father. I found it was just, particularly when we toured it in 2023 and again recently in 2025, was just so fascinating to see how the barn evolved from the agricultural to the cultural. So I fully, support the landmarking, and I think it's such an asset to the community and Watermill just to have it recognized. So,
Would you please identify yourself for the record?
pardon?
Could you identify yourself for the record, please?
Okay. Oh, Susan Sherry Clark. Excuse me. I'm sorry.
That's okay. Thank you, Sherry.
Thank you. Thank you, Susan. Yes, so Troy Bruckner.
Won't be long. Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Thanks for your time hearing this, and I wanted to, thank these two ladies.
Could you
for all
identify
the-
yourself
Oh,
for the
I'm
record,
sorry.
please?
I'm Troy Buckner. I'm here representing the Buckner Revocable Trust. I was the applicant for the property. I just really wanted to say thanks to them. First of all, Vicki and Susan, and also David Wilcox and Ed Wisnowski. They all did such a magnificent job. These two spent so much time on this, and just wanted to say thank you. And I'm glad everybody is learning or hearing more about this barn, because it's during the landmarking of the farmhouse. I know you heard so much, and I was kind of sitting back there thinking, well, here we are. This is special too. So anyway, I know you've heard a lot about it, and I'm just really pleased with everything. I just want to say with the subdivision part of it, I know that's for down the road, but the reason for that is because I'm trying to remain on the property, and it's a lot, this property with the square footage and the upkeep and everything. So I'm hoping to sell half and then stay on the other half. So that's my plan. I would stay on either half, really. However that works out, but I just wanted to explain what the subdivision part of that is. So anyway, that's it. Thank you, everybody. Thanks so much.
All right. And Julie, I know you spoke with us at the work session, but of course, if you wanted to wrap it up for us, you're welcome to come on up.
I was going to talk about the Rainer Fish House.
Oh, okay. Well, all right, let's do this first. Kevin, is there anyone on Zoom for the second public hearing?
No one on Zoom.
All right, well, if no one else has any other comments, I move to close the public hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, Madam Clerk, would you please read the notice for the third public hearing?
Public hearing number 3, to consider historic landmark designation of the site recognized as the Rainer Fish House located at 4 Beaver Dam Road, West Hampton.
Sorry about that. Jumped the gun a little bit. But I fully support. Good afternoon, Madam Supervisor, Town Council, Town Clerk. Julie Green, I'm the town historian, and I do support the Diamond Barn landmarking decision. Thank you both, Vicki and Susan, for all the work that you've done and continue to do on the Landmarks and Historic District Board. It's amazing things that they've taught myself. So I'm here to talk about the Rainer Fish House. It's another landmark designation. It's here in this picture here. It is on just shy of 1/4 of an acre of property owned by the town. So it's located at 4 Beaver Dam Road in West Hampton. On an 0.02 acres of land along the Beaver Dam Creek, and has been identified as a historic resource and contributing structure in the town's maritime history. Just a little history. The Rainer Fish House is a barn-like structure. It was built on the creek in 1939 by William Fletcher Rainer to replace an earlier fish house. Constructed partially over the water, the fish house was used to store fishing gear, provide shelter for the fishermen and their equipment, and serve as a place to repair boats and nets between fishing expeditions. The builder, Fletch Rainer, was a sturgeon fisherman and an engineer, chauffeur, and for many years a town trustee. He served from 1930 until his death in 1959. Fletch descends from a long line of Rainers who first settled the area of the Beaver Dam Creek area since the early 1700s. Traditionally, fish houses like this were basically utilitarian structures located in protected areas along the shore, convenient to fishing grounds, and were built out onto the water with docks for easy access to the boat. So there is quite a bit of dock that is surrounding the property. So this fish house is kind of ramshackled in appearance. It's not really noteworthy architecturally, but for small fishing operations for communities of fishermen, this was kind of how they looked. And this is actually one of the only ones that we know of in the town of Southampton that is surviving, that is from its original purpose on the creek. Sometimes they were outfitted with a potbelly stove. This one had one. And the house provided the space for the fishermen, as I mentioned, to prepare for the next day of fishing, to come in, get warm, and to swap some fish stories and hear some news and gossip of the day. So this fish house is about 14 by 20 foot, and it was made out of unpainted rough-hewn planks, usually scavenged from material, mostly washed up debris, as this one was. So this was built in 1939, right after the hurricane of 38, which wiped out most of anything on the shoreline in West Hampton Beach. Devastating structure that destroyed so much infrastructure and many buildings, And at the time, it destroyed the original Rayner Fish House that had been in operation since about the 1860s. So this one was built after the cleanup. It was built, and most likely with debris from the storm. It was built to brace stronger and harsher weather and more severe storms. The fish house was used by Flesh Rayner until 1959, and then it was sold to his son, Charles Marvin Rayner, and he operated it. He used it from 1959 till about 2014 when it was sold to the Community Preservation Department of the town. This fish house was acquired as a reminder and to preserve a certain way of life that we no longer have here in the town. So I thank you all. That. Any questions?
Thank you.
I know we
Anyone have any questions?
spoke about this before.
Kevin, is there anyone on Zoom?
No one on Zoom.
Well, thank you, Julie,
Thank
for all
you.
that research. Appreciate it. If there's no other comments, then I move to close this public hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, Madam Clerk, would you please read the notice for the fourth public hearing?
Public hearing number 4, to consider amendments to Chapter 111 and 312 in connection with parking by permit only regulations at beaches, parks, and waterways.
Good afternoon. I'm Kristen Doulos, the Town Parks Director. I'm here today because there's some amendments in front of you to portions of Chapter 111 and 312 of the code. This was in an effort to standardize the dates that parking permits are required in order to make rules more clear to the public and to the enforcement officers who have to enforce these regulations at road ends and beaches. So there are currently 44 locations where we have parking by permit requirements, and we currently have 7 different conditions. This would bring 43 out of 44 of them to the same time frame of requiring a permit May 15th to September 15th. Right now, it's a bit of a patchwork around town with different dates. The dates of May 15th to September 15th are also consistent with the dates used on the majority of roads that have seasonal no parking restrictions. And it would also make it consistent with the trustee roads with the timeframes that are already in the trustees code, which is May 15th to September 15th. I've reached out to and I have the support of the town police, specifically Sergeant Sean Hamill, who has been overseeing the traffic control officers, Marine Patrol, who also patrols a lot of these road ends and issues the tickets, the town trustees, and our parks maintenance supervisor. We're in a position where a lot of the signs need replacement, whether due to age or during the COVID pandemic, a lot of the restrictions became more stringent, and we had to put sticker decals over a lot of the signs, which now those sticker decals have come off. So long story short, we need a comprehensive replacement. So if we're going to make changes, I feel like this is a good time to do it while we're investing the resources into making those new signs. So that's all I have to say.
Well, it's good timing, and
Director Doulos, if you don't mind, I just have a quick question. So this will also apply to trustee beaches and such?
Yes. We right now on trustee road ends, our parking permits are accepted as well as their trustee parking permits. So it would bring it consistent with their code as well. So it would be, anywhere where a Town of Southampton Parks and Recreation parking permit is accepted would be changed to this May 15th to September 15th timeframe. There is one exception at Wildwood Lake Park where we would leave a little bit more of a restrictive time frame.
At the request of the residents. But this is really, we've been receiving a lot of concerns about idling cars, midnight, over the night, So this will address some of that.
This is more to do with the timeframes than the dates rather than the
Sure.
times that permits are required.
Sure.
So it may help with some of that because it will make it more restrictive in some cases. But yeah, it's really just to bring it consistent right now, even just in terms of sign inventories within our maintenance shop. There tends to be a lot of confusion when a sign needs to be replaced. Sometimes the incorrect sign ends up going up because there's such a variety of signs. So we're really hoping that this is going to be a one-size-fits-all in most locations, and just makes it easier for all parties involved, including the public, hopefully.
Thank you.
Sounds like it with the consistency, so everybody knows what the rules are, and then the ordering of the signs is easier too. So thank you.
Yes, and I just want to mention the highway department is assisting us with making the signs, which will be a cost savings. So we appreciate them helping us out with their sign shop. They've been really great with that.
And we're actually noticing a public hearing later in the agenda that the highway superintendent is actually changing dates on his restrictions to fit this so that it's uniform across the board, so.
Yes, I saw that,
And
so.
it's worth mentioning that you did go to the trustees and they are in support.
Yes, and Katie is going to speak a little bit more to some of the official outreach that she's done to some of those groups.
Oh,
thank you.
Okay, thank you,
Thank you.
Kristen.
Hello.
Hello.
Katie Garvin, Assistant Town Attorney. Yes, I just wanted to add to what Kristen had said. Kristen had already spoken with everybody before she brought this to me, and then I was like, for the record, let me just re-refer it. So I did refer it to the Suffolk County Planning Commission, who said it was a matter for local determination. I did re-refer it to the Board of Trustees, and we heard back from them that they had no comments. We also did refer it to the Village of Sagaponack, which Kristen had already done, but when I actually sent it over, they had asked that we remove Gibson Lane and Sagmain from our code because they regulate these road endings now. They do them with Kristen. The town of Southampton enforces their regulations. But as a matter of cleaning up the code, we really should have taken it out anyways. So I am going to circulate a change which just deletes the two references to Gibson and Sagmain. And then we said to the village, you should really codify these amendments as well, which they will do. So this will make it in final format so that you can adopt it at your next meeting.
And I just want to clarify that our parking permits will still be accepted at Gibson Lane and Sagmain Road.
For at least this year.
Yeah, so that was it. And then, like I said, if you're inclined to adopt it, we'll put it on for resolution of adoption at the next meeting.
Thank you, Katie.
Thank you.
Let's see, Kevin, is there anyone on Zoom that wishes to speak at this public hearing?
I have two hands up.
Okay. This is the fourth public hearing.
Thank you.
Hi, Pamela Horwood again from the Bridgehampton Civic. I think it's a great idea to standardize the dates that the beaches are open. So at least I personally fully support this. But I do want to take the opportunity to say I have been in touch with Kristen and Kristen Doulos and with Michael Iacilli about the fact that at least in Bridgehampton, we do not have permitting may be required starting May 15th and ending September 15th, but very often during May and September, Bridgehampton, particularly Scott Cameron Beach, does not have lifeguards or attendants. And so the idea of asking for permits during those dates when there are no facilities and no personnel, I support the standardization of the dates, but I would love to see those dates also coincide with the beach facilities and attendants and lifeguards being available. I know that Kristen has expressed frustration in getting personnel west of the canal, but I think we have identified one or two ideas of a further reach out, a jobs fair at the Bridgehampton School, and there's a lifeguard nonprofit that operates out of the East Hampton Y. There are certain opportunities that I hope we can pursue because this is, believe it or not, one of the most requested thing we get from members is, why aren't there lifeguards at Scott Cameron Beach? Why are there no attendants? Why are the bathrooms not open in May and September particularly? So I hope we can do something about that. I also hope that we can find a way to build a staircase over the dunes because right now people have to go all out of their way to get onto the beach from where the parking lot is, rather than just having a staircase as Mecox does that goes over the dunes and brings you directly from the parking lot to the beach. So I hope all of these things will be considered along with the changes in the dates. Thank you.
Thank you, Pamela.
We have one more person on Zoom.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Meredith Berkowitz from the Bridgehampton Civic Association as well. And like Pamela, I'm fully supportive of standardizing and bringing the dates to be consistent with across beaches and across villages. I just had a quick question because I remember a few years ago when you were talking about permits for, and I think it was in reference to Long Beach up in Noyak and Sac Harbor, that you guys, there was a discussion with the fishermen and the local fishermen. And I just wonder how many of the local fishermen are used to sort of fishing those first few weeks of May prior to Memorial Day when the crowds come out and permits have generally been required, that would now lose that ability for those few weeks. And, I don't know any personally, but I do remember that discussion. And I just was hoping that some members of the board might recall it better than I and be able to just keep that in mind and understand what the local fishermen's expectations are. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
If I could just ask the director to just come up really briefly. With respect to some of the questions that were asked, you have been doing some outreach, and there has been some efforts to try to obtain additional lifeguards, right?
Yes,
Just
in the
comment
eastern
on
part of town, yeah.
eastern part of the town, yeah.
Historically, we've had a much bigger challenge staffing the 4 ocean and 1 bay beach in the eastern part of town, whether it be due to competition or demographics. I'm not exactly sure. It probably has a lot to do with all the staffing issues in the eastern part of town, traffic, a few different things. So we actually have been offering more certification classes in an effort to get more lifeguard recruits, including we're offering a class at the Bridgehampton Tennis and Surf Club this spring. It's the first time we're offering a class in the eastern part of town. We were able to utilize their pool for training, and so we're really hoping that we garner some lifeguards out of that effort. Ms. Harwood had referenced wanting lifeguards May 15th to September 15th. At any of our beaches, we only have lifeguards at the bathing beaches, I should say. This time frame would apply to all parking by permit access roads and beaches. So we have 9 bathing beaches. At those 9 bathing beaches that are lifeguarded, typically we only have lifeguards from Memorial Day to the end of June on weekends. That's the standard at all of our beaches because a lot of our lifeguards are students who are either still in college or in high school or are perhaps teachers who have not finished yet for the summer. So that's not unique to Bridgehampton. And then typically our lifeguards work through Labor Day. Last year we were able to staff the most attended beach, Ponquag, for 2 additional weekends in September. So that's sort of the norm just based on the staffing that's available. We tend to lose probably 50% of our staff come mid-August because kids are going back to college or even starting high school sports. So it's an unfortunate challenge, and sometimes we have to start destaffing some of the beaches that are less utilized or perhaps smaller. Scott Cameron is the smallest parking lot in our beaches across the town. So I believe it has about 65 parking spaces. So that is, she's correct, and that is usually one of the first ones where we start pulling staff away. And again, that's just due to, what we have available, and then putting those efforts towards some of the larger beaches where we know more people are going to be.
And we also, it's worth mentioning too, that we require these permits at road end beaches where there are never lifeguards or services provided.
Correct, yes. 9 out of those 44 locations are lifeguarded.
It's a good point. But Scott Cameron is one of my favorite beaches, actually.
Me too. Definitely.
But so it's great to hear, though, that there are the department is
we're
making
really trying.
a lot of efforts, and there's additional certifications that are occurring. So we are working on that.
Yes.
And I want to appreciate your efforts on that front. Speaking of the drop-off point, that mid-August period, have we looked into, and forgive me for my ignorance on this, but have we looked into potentially coming into partnership with other towns or municipalities to, if they have additional staffing, that we can possibly share them? Is there a potential for some sort of intermunicipal partnership if we do have the problem of adequately staffing some of the beaches?
I know that they face the same challenge as us. On the east side, East Hampton would be the municipality. On the other side, there is Southampton Village, who also has some guards.
Right.
But they're in the same boat as us, and they do the same thing. They start closing some of their beaches come, the end of the summer. I'm always looking for fresh opportunities. It's also, I've been asked about volunteer lifeguards as well. It's a little tricky because we have a staffing procedure. We have New York State mandated training that has to occur when we have employees. So it's not so easy to just plug people in sometimes.
Sure.
Certified.
Well, yes, and then of course certified.
Require certifications.
And we also require lifeguards that work for us to take our annual to recertify with our CPR each year as well.
So last and final, thank you for that. Last and final question, as for the steps, I actually enjoy walking through the sand. It's kind of fun. But is there, I would assume there's a reason this has been looked at before. Is there a reason? I know that there are private properties that abut the dunes. I don't know if, that has anything to do with that. I don't know if you could explain that a little bit.
So that was a breach point. Just to explain what Scott Cameron looks like briefly, it's the access point Ms. Harwood was referring to is across the parking lot if you were facing the Mecox Cut.
Okay.
So if you were coming from the restrooms, if you needed to use the restrooms, you do have to walk around. It's a bit of a walk to get where the lifeguard chair would be. Mm-hmm. Our lifeguards also don't like having to make that walk with all their equipment. Yeah. The trustees had built the dune in front of that area because it was a breach location. So it had been built up and it had been fenced.
Sand from the cut.
They might. I think that they might have during one of the last replenishment efforts done that. That was a few years ago where they built that back up. So I had been in talks with Chip Marion, who's the trustee for that area, about whether there's a possibility of making a walk through there. I'd have to revisit that with him. He was open to it, maybe to the extent of the lifeguards being able to access back and forth. I don't know about the publics. Then you have it where you're weakening the dune again. As far as stairs, The last time I had looked into this a few years ago, what I had been advised is that it would need to meet FEMA flood zone regulations, meaning that they would have to probably be built about 18 feet high, because it has to be above the flood zone level. And then that would require a switchback that would be significant in order to make it ADA, which would start taking up parking lot space, which is already kind of precious there. So again, I took the information I had gathered a few years back on that, and I am inquiring with land management and Marty Shea about that to see if that information I have is still accurate. So I am looking into it, but I think given the size of the parking area, it might be a significant investment as well.
Yeah, no, it makes a lot of sense what you're saying, and if I could be helpful in any way, shape, or form in the future, let me know. I don't know if, Bill, did you have a comment?
We looked at it years ago when I was a trustee, and it's not really feasible because of the size of the parking lot, and just what Kristen said, that it would take up a lot of spaces.
Right.
And if you get another, you would actually have to take the stairs down the front of it in the fall, because if you do get another breach, the water comes right around there, it would wipe it right out. For the exercise, you're better off walking. Exercise. And for the other question about the fishermen, I think the fishermen had a question back then. When we visited this once before, they want to park there overnight. I mean, if they come down 4 o'clock to go fishing, if they're going to get a ticket. Some of the parking lots, some of the road ends too, because some of the people don't drive on no beach, they walk. That was the problem with the fishermen.
The crossover issue and the pass over the sand, over the dunes is a big issue that we're facing too with the FIMP project, you know, so then we have to deal with DEC and the Army Corps of Engineers. It's not an easy solution.
No, unfortunately.
It also makes a wind thing. When you have
What's the
wind,
site for FIP?
it traps the sand.
Not this particular site, but we deal with that issue of crossovers
Okay.
and sand paths, like what Bill was mentioning.
What about the wind?
When you have like snow fence, if you put a fence going across, I mean a stairways going across, and it has railings, it traps the sand, makes like a wind thing, like a big snow fence on top of the dune, and alters actually alternate the dunes, make them go a different way.
Did you have any other questions? Mike?
No, I'm good.
Anybody else?
Thank you, Kristen. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
And thank you for your efforts.
And everybody's
I think
looking for
just,
lifeguards, like we said, even the state, they have to pare right down after Labor Day, they can't get full-time lifeguards.
Kevin, you said nobody is on Zoom for this, right? Okay, then I move to close the public hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, Madam Clerk, would you please read the notice for the 5th public hearing?
Public hearing number 5, to amend Town Code, Chapter 312, entitled Vehicles and Traffic, Article 22, entitled County Road 39, by adding new subsection 312-107.4, entitled Temporary Traffic Mitigation PM Pilot Program.
No one's here from Highway?
No one's here. No one's here from Highway, but there was a presentation at our last work session on this.
On it. It's a temporary program.
Yeah.
Good.
We did have a full presentation on what was going to be involved.
And it was also explained at the Traffic Mitigation Task Force meetings as well.
That's
Yeah,
right.
the only thing I will make a note of is I did ask for, I asked PD for a breakdown of costs because it just seemed odd to me that Highway was almost double what PD costs were for this program. And the PD costs in this are listed.
Sorry, I turned
Sorry,
it
and the
Okay.
PD costs, yeah. The PD costs are listed in this as $25,000. When in reality, you know, I think worst case scenario, if it ends up being all overtime, is closer to $70,000 for the 2-week period. And it was just asked to be made note of that they're gonna make it work for these 2 weeks to pull people in and do what they need to do, but there's no way our current staffing in the police department could go beyond this 2 weeks, so.
Well, is the 24,000 for 2 weeks, or is that an inaccurate number?
It's an inaccurate number.
Where did it come from?
that's what was given, I guess, when they asked, and then it was potentially, the financial impact was with using people that were on duty but they may not be able to. So I just wanted to make a note, we can leave it there, but it may be up to, worst case scenario, $70,000.
And I actually had a few phone calls from a couple of landscapers worrying about going up on North McGee Street at the end of the day to dump off the stuff at Mazaneski's. They're going to somehow manage it for the 2 weeks. So it's very important.
Yeah, I mean, I've been, community members have reached out that are
Yeah.
concerned about just getting across town. And, like I said, I've been asking them, listen, it's 2 weeks, please document, the trouble that you have with it and.
If there's trouble, it could work really well.
Hopefully it will
We'll
work.
see. We'll see. People are gonna use that QR code and send their comments in.
And, and we find out what the trouble is and we can tweak it for, if it works, if we decide to keep it.
I think it is important for us as well, though, when people call us with complaints, to direct them to that
Survey.
Yeah. And where can you find the survey?
It'll be online.
The highway department is going to post it. Well, is there Jim or Kathleen, is there an issue with as Cindy brought up, with respect to the financial impact? If we were to close it?
No, I believe that.
It may, like I said, it may cost that if they're able to use everybody that's currently on duty, but if they have to pull in people and pay overtime, I'm just saying, that's worst case scenario. They just wanted us to be aware of that and be aware of the fact that it wouldn't be sustainable beyond the 2 weeks. So.
I think you.
I'm just making that note.
Councilperson's addressed it, so it's not a
Yeah.
concern as far as having the public hearing today. If that's your question.
No.
Yeah, I mean, if it's successful, then maybe there's some permanent changes we
Have to
can make
address
that
that.
won't require all the staffing. All right, Kevin, is there anyone on Zoom for this 5th public hearing?
No one on Zoom.
Then I move to close the public hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, Madam Clerk, would you please read the 6th and final notice for the 6th public hearing?
Number 6, for funding for water quality improvement project for the Riverhead School District Phillips Avenue Elementary Sanitary Sewage Project.
Good afternoon, members of the town board. Daniel McCormick, Assistant Town Attorney for the Community Preservation Department, Town of Southampton. I would note that this is a co-presentation involving myself as well as Jacqueline Fenlon, CPF Director, who's constrained to join us by Zoom for reasons known to the town board. I would also note at this time that there is a... I would also note at this time that there's a parallel action involving, as the town board is aware, the negotiation of an intermunicipal agreement between the school district, the Riverhead Central School District, as well as the town of Southampton. This hearing does involve an application by the Riverhead Central School District regarding a CPF Water Quality Improvement Program funding request, specifically regarding actions necessary and in regard to the connection of the Phillips Avenue Elementary School at 141 Phillips Avenue. This is a school actually located in the town of Southampton. However, it is part of the Central Riverhead Central School District. I would note at this point that the construction involves connection to what is proposed to be, as the town board is aware, an STP, sewage treatment plant, in the Riverside area concerning that locale. This project includes proper closure of the existing on-site sanitary and kitchen waste systems and disposal systems, and connection of the school to the STP once it's actually constructed. The application that was submitted by the school district notes that the project will result in the elimination of up to 1,000 500 pounds of nitrogen load per year from discharge into the groundwater in what is a high and medium priority area as defined within the Water Quality Improvement Project guidelines. This school and the surrounding areas are in close proximity to both the upper and lower Peconic River area, as well as the tributaries that support the Peconic Bay. Those water bodies are currently listed under the Department of Environmental Conservation's 303D list of impaired water bodies with respect to that particular location. This actual project will entail and involve engineering design services, testing services, removal and abandonment of 2 existing disposal systems, and installation of a new sewer pipe and connection system. The total cost, as currently estimated by the district's engineer, H2M Architects and Engineers, is $900,000. The district has requested that the entire project cost of $900,000 be funded by the CPF Water Quality Funding Grant Program. The Water Quality Improvement Advisory Committee has weighed in on this particular project. They reviewed the request and found that the project does in fact meet water quality objectives with respect to those standards. As I indicated earlier and I noted, there is a parallel action involving the negotiation of an IMA between the school district and the town of Southampton with respect to the connection to the STP. Part of that proposal and as a contingency does involve certainty and a surety as to how much the funding request will be appropriated and approved by the town board as part and parcel of the IMA, especially given the fact that the school district is approaching its budgetary timeline with respect to the budget and its vote for the constituents of that respective school district. So it's important that we present this today and that the town board obviously consider it as a matter of timeliness and urgency. The committee is also advised that the district's Board of Education has in fact passed a resolution confirming the intended use of the proposed funding for this particular project, as I've just addressed with the town board. We also understand that the New York State Education Department must confirm the application and district approval before formally issuing a permit for this capital construction project and the permit approval process as noted. Therefore, with all these considerations with respect to the committee's input and recommendation, with respect to the parameters of the project and the fact it meets those guidelines as addressed through the application project and as considered by the committee, we are in fact recommending through the CPF that this funding request be approved in the amount as requested of $900,000. As I noted earlier, Ms. Fenlon is also available for any questions you may have regarding this application, and I thank you for your consideration at this point.
Thank you, Dan. You mentioned the IMA. That's not part of what we're talking about today, though, right?
That is correct. I was just providing that as background information with respect to the totality of the application.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Jackie, did you want to talk to us about this?
Sure. Good afternoon, everyone. Sorry I cannot be there in person today, but thank you for taking the time to hear from us. I just wanted to let you know that we have been working diligently. I know Kathleen Murray, Deputy Town Attorney, was working on the IMA, and we were first approached about this last year. There was obviously letters of support that were given by the town board. This is one of the largest flow generators in the Riverside area, so it makes all the sense in the world to help this project get off the ground and be able to be engineered properly and hook up to the STP, which is directly to the north in Enterprise Zone Drive. Obviously, what building upon what Dan has spoken about is that Riverside is very unique, as is like the surrounding communities of Riverhead and Flanders, where they are hydrologically connected. There are DEC freshwater wetlands and town-regulated freshwater wetlands in very close proximity to the school. So the number one goal here is to improve water quality. So all of these wetlands are interconnected and end up, impacting the water quality of those, smaller water bodies, as well as Peconic River and, the greater bays in the area. So this is one of those areas that, the Water Quality Advisory Board and, the CPF staff are always seeking to look at these high generators and make sure that there is an availability to, hook up or, provide a large IA system. So with this project, it makes a lot of sense that we would hook up to the adjacent STP that's being planned. And we received a letter of support from Janice Shearer, Land Management and Development Development Administrator, excuse me. So I just wanted to add that we're really trying to work together with the Riverhead School District, and Eric Levine is the school district's counsel. We had numerous calls and explanations. So this is a project where once Riverside STP is up and running and the district is finalized, obviously this is something that the Riverhead School District wants to take, and construct immediately. But obviously they're a school, so they provided us with construction timing that the construction would be in the summer once, they're able to hook up and their plans have been finalized with the health department. So.
Thank you.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Jackie.
Awesome. Yeah.
Well, I do have a card from Eric Levine. Yes.
Good afternoon. My name is Eric Levine. I'm an attorney with the law firm of Guercio and Guercio LLP and counsel of the Riverhead Central School District. I want to thank the town board and Supervisor Moore for having us here today and inviting us and your support for this project. We also have a contingent here today. I would like to introduce from my office, Margaret Goodman, from H2M, Senior Project Engineer James Vierling, Board Trustee Erica Murphy, Board Trustee Virginia Healy, and Interim Superintendent of Schools Cheryl Pedisich.
Welcome, everyone.
I believe Mr. McCormick covered a lot of what I was going to say, and so did Ms. Fenlon, and we certainly appreciate the committee support, the board's support, Ms. Shearer's support for this very important project. Phillips Avenue Elementary School is indeed located within the town of Southampton and is one of the largest contributors of nitrogen into the Peconic. And by allowing the district to convert over from its current septic system to connect to the planned STP, it would reduce 1,500 pounds per year, which is an 85% reduction from one of the largest contributors, which in I think everyone's view has a very clear positive environmental impact. So we would certainly appreciate the consideration of this grant. In terms of the finances, the district indeed has asked for $900,000 solely dedicated to this project. If it is excessive in terms of ultimate needs with the project, certainly the district is willing to return any excess funds. It is not looking to apply them elsewhere. But district, which is one of the largest school districts geographically on Long Island and crosses over 3 townships between Brookhaven, Riverhead, and Southampton, unfortunately, from the funding standpoint, would be unable to fund this project on its own. So the grant is essential to being able to positively affect the environment in this way. And if anyone has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
No, and it's the design and installation, so it takes you through the complete process, correct?
Correct.
I think it's a good project.
Yeah, we're happy to do it. I mean, assuming everyone's going to vote for it.
Yeah, if I might add, the resolution for authorizing the funding amount is on for today's agenda later. It's resolution, I think it's 482.
Oh, good.
The first one.
Do you want to close this and take that and vote on it?
Yeah, I don't think, Kevin, is there anyone on Zoom that wishes to speak at this public hearing?
Thank you, Eric.
No one on Zoom.
Thanks, Eric.
You've been
No
working
one on
very
Zoom.
close with our office, and I appreciate your efforts.
Exactly, and everyone from your office and we've dealt with the town is
Great, thank you.
And I move to close the public hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
What's the first one?
All right, well, takes us to the public portion. But since we have people waiting, why don't we take the resolution out of order?
Second.
Nobody minds, move to do that. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, so, who's, okay, here it is.
We're going to just come back to it.
Town Board Resolution 2025-482, co-sponsored by council members McNamara, Pell, Iacilli,
Yes.
to authorize funding for water quality improvement project for the Riverhead School District Phillips Avenue Elementary Sanitary Sewage Project.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All done. Thank you. Thanks for all coming.
Thank you, everyone.
It's fine.
Yeah.
But you can make it. I will
Bye,
do it.
thanks.
Bye-bye.
All right, so now we'll go to public portion. I do have one card, Elena Loretto. Would you like to come on up and speak with the board?
It's nice having something here.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Elena Loretto. I am the former president of the Noyak Civic Council. I'm the president emeritus now, so I've gone over that for quite a while. But I'm here to once again remind you that we have this creature here in Noyak. It's called the Sandland Mine. Okay, and it lives on its own. It breathes on its own. It has whatever it wants on its own. And we've been asking the town for quite some time to please allow this creature to amortize, because the way it is situated now, it has allowed certain habits to come to the fore that really is not good for our water. And I'll explain why. About 18 years ago, you might remember that the health department put test wells in surrounding different points of this mine. And believe it or not, the health department found that there were contaminants, pesticides, carcinogens, you name it, all the crummy stuff that you don't want in our aquifer. And all these creatures are there. They're like, quiet, but not the kind of things that we want to entertain in our water supply. So I am asking you today again to please okay the plan to amortize this particular sand mine, Sandland, on Middle Line Highway, because we don't need a repetition of what happened roughly 18 years ago with the health department. So please consider it. I know that you have the best interests of the populace in mind, and we really have to protect our aquifer before this thing seeps. It's traveling northwest. Okay, it's just creeping along nice and slow until eventually will overtake our aquifer. And we really don't want that. I know you don't. I don't want to invite you for a cup of coffee made with water from this thing. So please, see what you can. Put your heads together. Let's get this amortization plan underway so that we can all have healthy water. Thank you so much.
Just want to clarify one thing. It's all the sand mines. It's just not this one sand.
Yes, that's correct. Thank you, Mr. Pell. Yes, it's for all sand mines. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Elena.
Nice to see you.
Same here. Thank you.
Kevin, is there anyone on Zoom for public portion?
Yes, I have two people.
Okay. Please bring them in.
Hi, Meredith Berkowitz again from the Bridgehampton Civic Association. I actually had just three things I wanted to mention. One, just to readdress, as a civic, I'm sure we will address some of the concerns expressed by Councilmember McNamara earlier on the public hearing on the Zooms. But I just wanted to say that 10%, the number that she talks about when she was adding her concerns, is a little bit disingenuous because that includes hot topics where hundreds of people show up in person, but it's really the not so hot topics like the one tonight that are not well publicized where video participation is all the more important. And as we just saw, Jacqueline Fenlon, for example, on a really important issue, wasn't able to be here, and thankfully she was able to participate by Zoom. Second, I appeared a couple of weeks ago asking about the process of what happens when matters sit in limbo at the planning board and the zoning board and don't get moved forward. And Mr. Burke suggested that I reach out, Town Attorney Burke suggested I reach out, but so far my emails and phone calls haven't been returned. So I was just hoping that maybe we could foster that to happen so that we could actually have a conversation about that. And then thirdly, and most importantly, I read the recent article in the Southampton Press about how even the town is now growing concerned over some of these, the town board over these cannabis shops and the planning board, and feeling their hands are tied because they're dealing now with a structure that is different from what they thought it would be. At the time, there was a period where the town could have opted out, and Jay Schneiderman was the supervisor at the time. And even though he and the board at the time were begged and urged not to leap ahead and to opt out until the rules, which were at that time extremely amorphous and very loose at best, were more clear and a structure put in place, he actually left without even holding a public hearing. And I wanted to say to the board that we as a civic have had some conversations with Fred Thiel, and those conversations were very productive in the sense that there may be options for the town to have a revisit with the state legislature, to have conversations with our local representatives in the state legislature, to say that, this was approved without public hearings. It's unfairly burdening the towns that were not incorporated villages, mainly Bridgehampton included, and that the structure that has been put in place is different from what was outlined, and that our hands shouldn't be stuffed with this mandatory inability to opt out now when they've changed the rules. And so I just wanted to add that, and I do think there are legal ways that could be explored to address those concerns. Thank you.
Thank you. Kevin, is there anyone else on Zoom?
Yes.
Oh, Pamela, we can't hear you.
You're muted.
Sorry. Hi, Pamela Harwood, President of the Bridgehampton Civic again. I just wanted to take this opportunity to once again advocate for Scott Cameron Beach. I wanted to respond to Councilman Pell, who made the point that if we do a staircase at Scott Cameron, it's a little difficult because of the small size of the parking lot and we'd lose some spaces. But I think this is a good opportunity to let people who may not have ever known this or don't remember that when I first moved to Bridgehampton, and way before that, there was a beautiful pavilion at Scott Cameron Beach. You had a staircase leading to decking over the dunes. There was a snack bar. There were bathrooms up there. There was lifeguard storage up there, and there was seating. And this was fantastic. And then one winter, in what many considered to be suspicious circumstances, because it coincided with a lot of the development of private homes in the surrounding area on Dune Road, there was a fire that burnt the entire facility down. The town never rebuilt it. And when the town decided to not rebuild it and to instead put the bathrooms in the parking lot, put the lifeguard storage in the parking lot, we lost a lot of parking spaces. So the idea that by restoring at least the staircase going over the dunes, we'd lose parking spaces is kind of weird, considering we lost so many parking spaces by having to put all of the facilities in what was the parking lot. So I wanted to make that point. I also wanted to ask Kristen Doulos about the 18-foot requirement. So as you know, there are such mega mansions now on Dune Road, and they look like convention centers and airport hangars. And I see all of them have staircases over the dunes leading to the beach because, of course, they want beach access. So are they being made to have the same requirement that it has to go 18 feet up that the town would have to? So I don't exactly understand that because I don't see that happening with all the private homes. Kristen did say that she would check to see whether that was still a factor. But I just wanted to reinforce the fact, and it has been so many years that Bridgehampton residents and our members, and when we were a CAC, have asked us to do something about Scott Cameron Beach, and I've really never gotten around to it. And that's why, leading up to the summer, I feel really strong that I have to advocate this for our residents, for our members. And also, by the way, everyone in Noyak uses Scott Cameron Beach. It's not just Bridgehampton. This is the beach access. Mecox is open to non-residents, but Scott Cameron is only for town residents and taxpayers. And so everyone in Noyak uses it, and people in Bridgehampton use it. And the fact that we have lost what we once had, and by the way, I've reached out to our town historian to see if she had pictures of all that. She doesn't. I reached out to the Bridgehampton Museum. They have the archives building. They don't have pictures. There are a few pictures in our family of the decking. So no one even seems to have the pictures. But I'm advocating that the town give us back what we once had. We've had this taken away from us. We've had our amenities reduced. And I would like to see some activity in restoring what we once had. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Kevin, is there anyone else on Zoom?
That's everyone on Zoom.
All right, thanks, Pamela. So I'll move to close the public portion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, let's proceed with the resolutions.
Town Board Resolution 483 of 2025, authorizing plumbing repairs and services from Macaron Plumbing, Inc., using a Suffolk County contract.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Town Board Resolution 2025-484, authorized purchase of mixed asphalt concrete material furnished and place used by Suffolk County contracts.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-485 to authorize roof repairs from Statewide Roofing, Inc., using the Suffolk County contract.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Town Board Resolution 486 of 2025, co-sponsored with Supervisor Moore, authorize supervisor to sign intermunicipal agreement with the Village of North Haven for fire marshal services.
Second.
All in favor? Oh, Town Board Resolution 2025-487 to authorize the supervisor to enter into an agreement with A. Martin Petrovic, Professor of Horticulture, to review the 2025 groundwater monitoring reports and management of the Lewis Road PRD East Quad Golf Course.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-488 to authorize the supervisor to enter into an agreement with A. Martin Petrovic, Professor of Horticulture, to review the 2025 groundwater monitoring reports of the Sabonic Golf Course.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-489 to authorize the supervisor to enter into an agreement with A. Martin Petrovic, Professor of Horticulture, to review the 2025 groundwater monitoring reports, annual superintendent's report, and management of the Bridge Golf Course.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-490, co-sponsored by Councilmember Iacilli, to authorize the supervisor to execute a contract with Corey Humphrey to provide part-time program coordinator services for the Peconic Estuary Program.
Second. Did we find out about this? Was there a clarification on this? Because I know that you had some questions about it being Peconic Estuary Program. This is not Peconic Estuary Partnership.
It's not. It's separate.
Yeah.
Do you want to just
table?
table it till the next meeting?
Yeah,
Make a motion
because
to
I
table
did
in a
ask,
second.
and I think somebody was looking into it, but I'm not sure if we got an answer on that.
Okay. So you want to make a motion to table?
Yes.
Second to table.
All in favor?
Aye. Town Board Resolution 491 of 2025, co-sponsored with Supervisor Moore and Councilman Iacilli, authorize the supervisor to execute a license agreement for Hampton Classic Horse Show from August 9th, 2025 through September 7th, 2025, from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. at 240 Snake Hollow Road, Bridgehampton.
Second.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Town Board Resolution 492 of 2025, co-sponsored with Councilman Iacilli, authorize the supervisor to sign a contract extension with the Land Tech Group, Inc. for sports courts resurfacing and construction requirements.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-493 to authorize the supervisor to sign a contract with Messiano Consulting, Inc. for grant writing assistance.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-494, authorize supervisor to sign a no-cost contract extension with the Village of Southampton from 2020 Community Preservation Fund water quality monies to accommodate project delays.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-495, authorize the supervisor to sign a subscription agreement with Power DMS, Inc. to provide the town's police department with Planet software for time and attendance.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Town Board Resolution 496 of 2025, authorize the supervisor to sign a contract with Lawrence Indemnity Consulting Corp. for appraisal of 109 Farmfield Road and 510 Ocean Road, Bridgehampton, New York.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Town Board Resolution 497 of 2025, authorize the supervisor to sign a contract with Lawrence Indemnity Consulting Corp. for appraisal of 651 and 671 Sagaponack Main Street.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board
Aye.
Resolution 2025-498, co-sponsored by council members Iacilli and McNamara, to award and authorize the supervisor to sign a contract extension with M1 Security Solutions for requirements contract for security camera network infrastructure installation and maintenance.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Town Board Resolution 499 of 2025, award and authorize supervisor to sign contract with Ozzy's Frosty, Inc. for mobile concession Flying Point Beach.
Second. All in favor?
Aye. Town Board Resolution 500 of 2025, award and authorize supervisor to sign contract with Ozzy's Frosty, Inc. for mobile concession at Hot Dog Beach.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Town Board Resolution 501 of 2025, award and authorize supervisor to sign a contract with Ozzy's Frosty, Inc. for mobile concession Mecox Beach and W. Scott Cameron Beach.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Town Board Resolution 502 of 2025, award and authorize supervisor to sign contract with Ozzy's Frosty, Inc. for mobile concession Red Creek Park.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. I think there was one for everybody there.
Yes.
Town Board Resolution 2025-503, the 2025 notice to bidders for inspection and repair of fuel pump fire suppression systems.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board. Wait, go ahead. I'm the next one.
Okay. Town Board Resolution 2025-504, the 2025 notice to bidders for fencing and stakes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-505.
What? Oh, go ahead, sorry.
Co-sponsored Councilwoman McNamara. 2025 notice to bidders for private or multiple markets for disposal service for multiple solid waste.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Town Board Resolution 506 of 2025, authorizing budget modification to the Community Development Block Grant Program for fiscal year 2023.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-507, to deposit monies in escrow account for professional services in connection with the ARIA-T LLC site plan application.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-508, co-sponsored by council members McNamara and Pell. The selection of North Sea Schoolhouse as recipient of the 2025 Southampton Landmarks Maintenance Award.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Congratulations to them.
Yeah.
Town Board Resolution 2025-509 to appoint Leslie Schultz to the Conservation Board.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Town Board Resolution 510, 2025, accept resignation from the Hampton Bays Citizens Advisory Committee.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-511 to authorize the town attorney to sign a stipulation of settlement.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Town Board Resolution 2025-512, co-sponsored with Council Members Pell, Moore, McNamara. Rick, do you want?
And Martell.
And Martell. Resolution of adoption amending Southampton Town Code, Chapter 312, entitled Vehicles and Traffic, Article 23, entitled County Road 39, by adding new subsection 312-107.4, entitled Temporary Traffic Mitigation PM Pilot Program.
Second.
All in
Aye.
favor?
Aye.
That's what we just had a public hearing.
Yes.
Work session and
And
public
we're
hearing.
hopeful
Yes.
that we're going to get some good results. Thanks, Charlie, for bringing it forward.
Town Board Resolution 2025-513, a resolution to adopt and enact the Town Code Article 7 as it relates to the administration of non-conformant sand mines that meet the certain criteria within the town of Southampton.
Second? Yeah, I want to say something. Did you have any comments? Usually I don't second the resolutions, but that's okay. I just want to clarify that this is not a law to shut down the mines in 1 year, that it's just requiring that within 1 year, the applicant appear before the ZBA to establish the amount of time that's needed to conclude operations, and it also sets forth a list of items that the ZBA may consider. Legislation is important to establish procedures not only for mines currently in operation, but for those that have concluded their operations but have not yet begun their reclamation process. And it was in 1983 that the town outlawed new mines and designated existing mines as non-conforming. And this law will allow us to eliminate the non-conforming mine uses over time and bring all into conformity so that everyone lives by the same rules.
Thank you.
Phil, did you want to say something?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
She said it for me.
I do have a statement, and, I don't do this to be a contrarian. I think this is important legislation, and I think if I'm not going to support it, I have to very clearly lay out my points for why I'm not supporting it. So with that being said, I will read my statement. After a discussion on the possible amateurization of non-conforming bars, taverns, and nightclubs, the town board commissioned a study and hired an outside consultant in July of 2002. The purpose of the study was to identify concerns and propose possible strategies to remedy quality of life issues for residents. The study established baseline data for land use and zoning purposes and recommended potential mitigation measures. As part of the study, certificates of occupancy and compliance were analyzed to determine whether or not establishments improperly expanded their use. Once that study was completed and presented to the board, a draft local law was presented and scheduled for public hearing. After hearings on the first draft, Supervisor Heaney stated that the goal of the proposed law wasn't to put people out of business, but to make them better neighbors. Based on the feedback from the first round of hearings, which included comments on both the study and the proposed law, the town board amended the contract with the planning consultant to add locations to the study, as well as research New York State Liquor Authority regulations, fire code violations, police calls, and incorporate this data into the study. They were also contracted to make 2 separate presentations of this data to the town board, as well as appear at hearings to answer questions regarding the study. In August of 2003, a public hearing was held on an amended local law. In November of 2003, during the hearing process, the Hampton Tourism and Trade Association asked for time to complete their own study, which was granted. After that study was completed and multiple hearings and work sessions with civic groups and business owners, a third draft of the law was noticed for public hearing. At that meeting, the town board ordered appraisals of the affected nightclubs to see if a 10-year amortization period was sufficient. Those appraisals were completed at the town's expense. The final law gave nightclubs the ability to avoid amortization by either applying to change to another nonconforming use to retain their right to operate a business in a residential area, or go through site plan review with the planning board to mitigate offending site conditions and potentially receive a certificate of qualified nonconforming use, upholding the supervisor's intent to make these establishments better neighbors, not put them out of business. In contrast, this town board held a work session on October 31st, 2024, to present a local law to amateurize sand mines in Southampton town. At that work session, it wasn't known how many active mines existed in the town, let alone which ones would be affected. The town planning and development administrator wasn't even included in that work session. It was stated at that work session that none of the mines had complied with the town law requiring them to submit groundwater monitoring plans for review and adoption by the town board, and that they had all been issued notice of violations. On November 12th, the highway superintendent stated that the closure of sand mines in the town would impact the highway department tremendously. He mentioned the 45 truckloads of sand that were transported to Dune Road in Hampton Bays to close a breach, and stated that would not have been possible without the local mine to source sand from. He said, "Support these mines because they have helped us tremendously, and my budget will go through the roof if these mines are closed." The town board proceeded with a public hearing at which the record was corrected to reflect that the mines had in fact submitted groundwater monitoring plans at great cost, but the town never reviewed or adopted them. There was testimony that closing mines would increase scoop excavating in the town, which is the process of selling clean sand from construction sites and backfilling with potentially toxic fill. There was testimony on the increase to building costs, increased traffic, and increases to our own budget. The town board was told that based on the highway superintendent's comments alone, this law would be a type 1 action and subject to a full environmental review. I asked the supervisor at the first public hearing if the environmental review showed that the amortization of all mining operations in the town had significant adverse impacts, would she reverse course? She answered, "Let's see what the data shows." We told the public at the December 10th hearing that this was a type 1 action, that there would be a full review completed, and that we would hold scoping hearings. The hearing was adjourned to January 28th to coordinate with the DEC. The town attorney stated that a full SEQA review would take months. The public hearing was closed on February 25th. At a work session on March 20th, after the public hearing was closed and the public had no more opportunities to comment, the town planning and development administrator came in to discuss the SEQA process for sand mines and stated that there was no need to do a full review as the amortization law didn't pose any significant impacts. Less than a week ago, on Wednesday, April 2nd, the town board received by email sand mining amortization secret documents from the town planning and development administrator. It was a planning assessment on sand mines in Southampton. Again, outside of the hearing process with no ability for public comment. Yesterday, the town supervisor emailed changes that she wanted made to that planning document. While there were extensive changes made regarding Sandland, there wasn't even a mention of the fact that one of the mines included in the document has completed reclamation and was no longer engaged in mining operations, or that another mine that wasn't included is captured in the proposal. That another mine that was included in the document isn't captured in the proposed law due to the fact that it isn't in a special groundwater district. 20 minutes prior to this meeting, the town board received the secret planning assessment with the supervisor's changes. Even if I could support this legislation, I could never support the process by which it got here. None of the adverse impacts have been studied. We don't even know how it will impact our own budget. Heck, I can't even tell you for certain which mines in the town will be affected. The supervisor stated we could explore making the amortization period effective from the date the current DEC permit expires instead of the date the law goes into effect. We didn't. The prior board has taken a lot of criticism from this board regarding the way they operated. Some of it warranted and some of it not. But I can tell you that the prior board never told the public that there would be a full environmental review during a public hearing, only to close the hearing and then not conduct that review. I understand wanting to protect our aquifer, and I support implementing the groundwater monitoring plans to do just that.
Well, perhaps you told everybody there was going to be an extensive environmental, impact review, but we said there were going to be a seeker review. So I don't agree with a lot of the things that you said in your statement. But of course, you're entitled to your opinion. Does anybody else have anything they'd like to say?
I just backed the supervisor up. That was your opinion, not ours.
It's in the hearing record for anybody that wants to go back and watch it. I did watch it before I made my comment.
Well, I would just say a few things. I think, this was a very difficult task to take up, and I want to commend Supervisor Moore and Bill for really looking at this. Councilwoman, I know you have some concerns about the process. I think that we do all of us, I think, take great pains to try to be as collaborative with you, with all of us, each of us. When we have concerns, we try to raise them. We try to work through them together. I don't really think that there was an issue with this process. I look at this as an environmental policy more than anything. And each of the minds identified, studied and evaluated in the planning assessment, which the town planning department did put together, I think underscores how each of the sand mine locations are in a place with great significant protections and designation. Classifications such as the APOD, which is the Aquifer Protection, Pine Barrens, key watershed areas, estuary resource regions, special groundwater protection areas. Each sand mine that's identified is examined and looked at in conjunction with existing environmental classifications respective to its regional sensitivity. And I think this really emphasizes the need to uphold the 1999 Comprehensive Plan's recommendation to identify the sand mines for conversion to recreational use. That is stipulated in our comp plan. And I think that's really important to emphasize. I appreciate the concerns that have been brought up throughout this process, especially on behalf of the sand mining industry. Certainly, I think the town must work with these owners to find ways to transition in a process that is fair to them. I do see baked in this legislation that the ZBA process offering up to 7 years of transition to provide at least a certain time frame, a timeline that will I believe, optimize businesses and workforce strategies as they commence the amortization process. But, given the environmental sensitivity here, the impact to our groundwater, I think we really need to look at this in a regional way, and I think this does. And, I think it's important that we are serious about this.
Thank you, Michael.
All right, so time to vote.
Need a second.
I seconded it. Nobody else did.
Yes, you did.
It's okay, right? Okay, so all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
No.
Going to abstain.
Abstain.
Thank you. Okay. Town Board Resolution 2025-514, co-sponsored by the entire board. The historic landmark designation of the structure recognized as the Diamond Dairy Barn and Studio located at 18 Flying Point Road, Watermill.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Town Board Resolution 2025-515, co-sponsored by the entire board. The historic landmark designation of the site recognized as the Rayner Fish House located at 4 Beaver Dam Road, West Hampton.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Town Board Resolution 2025-516, home rule request resolution to support A.4660/S.0271 as it relates to continue authorization of the trustees of the freeholders of the commonality of the town of Southampton to relate to Ocean Beach in other regards as set forth there.
Second.
Jim, I have one quick question.
Sure.
Before we all
Didn't
say
see that one coming.
Just want to see what it says in the villages.
We were concerned about the eminent domain and the FIMP, and if it had anything impact on that also, Jim.
Yeah, I mean, I reviewed, and I took the opportunity to review again. So this came up last year, in the last couple of years as well. And looking over at the laws of 1818, the laws that are cited in the resolution, the laws of 1818, 1831, 1892, and 1907. And as the whereas clause says, I feel that this is just a restatement of the powers.
That's what I thought. I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, I'm comfortable with it, and I don't.
Okay,
We've been working very well on the FIM project with the trustees. They've had full cooperation with the trustees on the FIM project. I don't think it's going to be an issue whatsoever.
Okay.
And so, yeah, I'm comfortable. If you
I just wanted to make sure. Hey, Jim, can you repeat that all again?
I think people picked it up.
He's okay
No,
with it.
essentially,
Inside.
I am comfortable with this. And as I stated, I believe it's just a restatement of the laws of that are stated here in the resolution. 1831, 1892, and 1907, just restating the powers of trustees. Will not have any impact on the FIP. We're working very, very closely with them. The trustees have been great on the FIP project with us.
Thank you for that.
Full confidence.
Should we vote on this one first, Janice? 515, Elena Fish House.
I seconded.
If you look at the whereas, it's referring to the growl. I think it's a cut and paste problem.
Oh, there's an error.
Not done in my office.
Mine will park.
Oh, yeah.
The whereas
Yes.
refers to the thought.
This is not, yeah.
Yep.
Good catch.
It's in the last resolve, too.
Sabasso.
Ooh. Okay, so we have to rescind, right?
Yeah, and we're gonna have to amend it.
I think we're gonna have to reintroduce it.
So it's in that whereas and it's in.
Which one?
resolved.
I
Which
think,
whereas?
Page
It's on
46.
top of
So
page
just-
46.
Needs a motion to amend.
Yep.
Here?
And then the first resolve.
You had the hearing.
So it's the
Yeah, we can do it next
2024.
one.
yeah, we could do
Do
it.
you want to just withdraw it and?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're
Well,
gonna-
since we
next
already
meeting?
voted on it, should we move to rescind and then we'll,
Oh, it's only in two
Redo it.
places. I don't think you have to withdraw.
It's a
You're gonna have
significant
to
chunk.
recall and amend.
It's just the.
Recall it,
The
but
whole-
we don't know what the amendment is, so that's what I was
so-
saying, recall it
like recall it and
next.
adjourn it or
Adjourn.
withdraw it?
Yeah, I mean,
It's-
because it even mentions the castle in the this should just be withdrawn.
Yeah.
So I would say, since we already voted, I move to rescind this resolution and then CPF can pull it on
Second to
later.
rescind.
All in favor?
Aye.
They can submit it one for next one. Okay, and on the town board resolution 2025-516,
Second.
I already seconded it.
Oh, sorry.
Just
Cindy
a second,
seconded.
please. Okay, you already have a,
Good catch, Janice.
you already have a
Eagle eyes over there.
516, Bill Pell put it forward,
I seconded it.
Councilwoman McNamara
Seconded.
seconded it.
We all said yes.
Well,
All
no,
in
we didn't
favor?
vote. We didn't have a vote before we
all right,
flipped
so
back.
all in favor.
Aye.
Aye.
Yes.
We flipped
So
back in the
Janice, will
middle.
you make a note to let CPF know that they need to resubmit? Thank you.
Thank you, thank you.
Town Board Resolution 517 of 2025, authorized waiver of Parks and Recreation facility use fee for Village of East Quogue beautification fundraiser.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 518 of 2025, co-sponsored by Councilman Iacilli, waive a portion of the showmobile fees for West Hampton Chamber of Commerce Spring Fling Festival.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-519, co-sponsored by Councilwoman McNamara, to release a maintenance bond with R Squared Development LLC in connection with the Canoe Place Inn, Hampton Boathouses.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-520, co-sponsored by Councilwoman McNamara, to release maintenance bond with 215 Rogers HBD LLC in connection with the Gabreski Airport PDD Phase 2A.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-521, co-sponsored by Councilwoman McNamara, to release the performance bond with 245 Rogers HBD LLC in connection with the Hampton Business District Progreski APDD Phase 5.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 522 of 2025, co-sponsored with Councilman Iacilli, approval of 2025 junkyard permits for various businesses.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
She didn't tell me that.
Yeah, sorry.
Town Board Resolution 2025-523 to accept the resignation of Connor Cantwell, automotive equipment operator in the Highway Department.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-524 to accept the resignation of Martin Cullerton, Town Investigator in the Public Safety Department.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-525 to accept the resignation of Tricia Martinez, Office Assistant, Spanish Speaking in the Public Safety Department.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-526 to accept the resignation of Shane Sharkey, Fire Marshal 1 in the Public Safety Department.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-527 to accept the resignation of Manolo España, Justice Court Clerk, Spanish Speaking in the Justice Court.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-528 to accept the retirement of Mark Schneck, Assistant Cook in Housing and Community Services.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-529 to appoint Evan Marzin to Custodial Worker 1 in Municipal Works.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-530 to appoint Jorge Lozada Leon to Office Assistant Spanish-Speaking position from the Civil Service list.
Second.
Town Board Resolution,
You have to vote.
oh, all in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-531 to appoint Melissa Cantor to the Building Permits Examiner in the Building Department.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Oh, and Janice, that wouldn't be CPF, that would be the Landmarks Board, right?
Yeah.
To landmark the Rayner Fish House, so that's, I don't know who
It doesn't come
submitted the
from them.
resolution, but it wouldn't be CPF.
Who does the resolution?
Okay, thanks. Town Board Resolution 2025-532 to appoint Kyle DeRosa to Ordinance Inspector in Public Safety.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. You could have just let it go, Janice. Now you would have extra work.
Town Board Resolution 2025-533 to appoint Anthony Carpenter to Senior Park Attendant in Parks Department.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Town Board Resolution 534 of 2025, co-sponsored with Councilman Iacilli. Recall and amend Resolution Number 2025-184, authorizing Fire Marshals Christian Hansen and Ryan White to attend the International Association of Arson Investigators International Training Conference in Atlantic City, New Jersey, April 8th to April 9th. It's worth noting that that is to add Fire Marshal Courtney. I can never pronounce her last name.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. I did say. Town Board Resolution 535 of 2025, notice of public hearing for a local law amending Town Code Chapter 312 Vehicles and Traffic, amending and adding parking prohibited in designated locations regulations on a portion of County Road 80 Montauk Highway, East Quogue.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 536 of 2025, co-sponsored with Supervisor Moore, Councilman Pell, and Councilman Iacilli. Note, we're adding you, Rick?
Yes, please.
Notice of public hearing to amend Town Code Chapter 312 entitled Vehicles and Traffic, Article 7 entitled Seasonal Parking Restrictions in Designated Locations, Section 312-37 entitled Water Mill, May 15th to September 5th.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Town Board Resolution 537 of 2025, notice of public hearing for the consideration of one-year agricultural use agreement for 2025-2026 pursuant to Chapter 247 of the Town Code.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-538, co-sponsored by the entire board, to authorize the acquisition of 112 Mill Pond Lane in the hamlet of Watermill, New York, and amend both the CPF project plan and the CPF management and stewardship plan to include the property.
Second.
And I know we've had some concerns from the community about this, but I just want to confirm that this is, not going to be an active park. It's just strictly passive with only one or perhaps two parking spaces.
And we have to allow public access. We can't buy a property and then keep the public off of it, so.
And as you suggested, for ourselves to do water testing and other.
It's not gonna be
matters.
something to be publicized. I mean, most people don't even know that road even exists.
Yeah, and it does abut other preserved properties of the town.
The trustees' property across the street.
We have other CPF park properties that have not been developed, that we just keep natural.
Right. Primarily an open space purchase.
Protect the watershed.
Yeah. I mean, it does say for future park purposes. I wonder if we could just put
Strike it.
future passive park purposes that make people. more
Second to the amendment.
Oh, you're so efficient tonight.
I don't think it's
just a
needs.
list.
Joking.
It goes on to say preservation of open space, but then preservation, it's just a list of what.
It
Do you
could
want to
possibly
add that?
be.
I do. I want to say for
Yeah, yeah.
future,
Second
add
to
the
the
word
amendment.
passive.
Okay, all right, hold
in
on.
the Resolve.
Where are you putting this?
The motion to amend?
Yeah,
Second to the amendment.
Tell me where.
page 67,
67,
the first resolve,
first resolve,
fourth line,
1, 2, 3, 4, okay.
where it says for future park purposes. I would like to insert for future passive park purposes.
For future passive park.
Adding the
Three
word
Ps.
passive.
Okay, got it.
So, as amended, all in favor?
Aye. But we have to vote on the amendment.
Yep.
Yeah, that's what, oh, that's
Okay.
what I meant.
So
So
that votes
vote on
for-
the amendment.
Now we have to vote as
Okay,
amended.
so Councilman Iacilli was the second on the amendment,
On the
correct?
amendment, correct. Now we have to vote.
All in favor?
Aye,
Now, as amended, right?
Yeah.
correct. Same second.
Same
Did
second.
I second it? Same second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Sorry.
I think we got that
Thank you,
done.
Sunday.
Thank you, Sunday.
Town Board Resolution
Oh, I don't have that.
2025-539, co-sponsored by the entire board, to authorize the acquisition of 775 Middle Line Highway in the hamlet of Noyak, New York, and to amend both the CPF project plan and the CPF management and stewardship plan to include the property.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Yes.
Now we have all the law firms. Town Board Resolution ID number 49284, a resolution of adoption amending Town Code Section 330-248U, Fairfield Southampton Residential Plan Development District to allow driveway gates and owner rental.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 49533, award authorized supervisor to sign contract with Rosemar Contract, Inc. for requirement contracts for pavement repair.
Second.
All in favor?
Somebody's printer's running out of ink.
Town Board Resolution 49534, award and authorize supervisor to sign contract with Rosemere Contract for requirement contractor for death reclaim.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Town Board Resolution ID 49541, co-sponsored with Councilman Iacilli. Award and authorize the supervisor to sign a contract with Maximum Motorsports LLC for activity vehicles.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution ID number 49544, co-sponsored with Councilwoman McNamara, 2025 second notice to bidders for activity vehicles.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution ID number 49547, which is the warrant, number 7, capital number 7, CPF number 7, dated April 8th, 2025.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution ID 49549, notice to public hearing to amend Chapter 330, Section 183.1A 9 to clarify requirement for administration approval to multiple projects and attack a new standard of the 330-183.1A 11 to allow approval of any plan so ordered by the court's certificate of settlement.
Second.
This is
All in
fixed.
favor?
Aye.
And the last is Town Board Resolution ID number 49557 to authorize the supervisor to sign a contract with Nelson and Pope for professional services related to I'm going to say I feel like it should say design and installation of a glass recycling system at the North Sea Transfer Station, but I don't know, maybe it's all right the way it is. Never mind, just leave it. Installation.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Right, that's it. Any further business? No? Then I move, what?
I have just one thing to say.
All right.
The blacktopping on Noack Road was supposed to start.
Oh, I thought you were going to say the parking lot.
No, that's next. It was supposed to start on Wednesday, but due to the rain and the machine broke in Montauk yesterday, so they hope to start on Thursday. instead of,
Any word on the parking lot?
no.
I heard that the inspectors are coming out on Thursday, and then they're gonna pave it next week.
Next week.
The answer is always next week.
Yes.
But this time I think it really is. All right, so thanks, everyone. I move to close the meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.